Alright, welcome back. This video is about changing grams of one chemical to moles of another. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So as always, you always want to read your problem first. So here we see 2 moles of KClO3 will create 2 moles of KCl plus 3 moles of O2. So the problem states that this is going to be the reaction. So let's go ahead and label reaction so we do not forget for later. Because later we're going to refer to this same reaction. 369 grams of KClO3 decomposes. How many moles of O2 will be produced? So looking upon the problem, there's one number given, so that's going to be our given unit. We're going to go ahead and circle this chemical, and since this chemical KClO3, I see that same chemical here. And we are looking for how many moles of O2 that will be produced. So I'm going to go ahead and underline that, since our answer needs to have moles of O2. If it doesn't have that, we didn't answer the question. So I'm also going to underline in the reaction as well. If it helps, you can cross out this unwanted chemical. Because this chemical was not mentioned anywhere in the problem, you can go ahead and cross it off so it doesn't confuse us for later. Alright, so moving on, there's 3 elements that's mentioned here: potassium, chlorine, and oxygen. So we're going to go ahead and find those on the periodic table: potassium, chlorine, and oxygen. If you forgot, the top number tells you the number of protons. That's the atomic number. However, it's the bottom number that we will be using for this problem. The bottom number tells you the average atomic mass. So we're going to copy everything in these boxes in the drawing section. So we have potassium 1939, oxygen atomic number 8, mass of 16, chlorine atomic number 17, and mass of 35. Alright, moving on, so our given is whatever we started off with in terms of the numbers. So since they gave us this number, that will be our given. 369 grams of KClO. And I've seen a lot of students do this. Make sure you also don't forget the subscript of 3. Alright, let's move on to desired. So the answer that we need should be in units of moles of O2. So that's going to be our desired. So since we don't know the number of moles, that's why we're working on this problem. This is going to be a question mark. Moles of O2. In fact, if it helps you, you can also color in these chemicals up here, since we're going to refer to that in this second clue. Alright, so far so good. We have 2 more boxes to go. We have the information box and then the plug in and solve. In the information box, the first part says from the PT. And if you forgot, PT means periodic table. So all the numbers from the first information should be from the periodic table, those bottom numbers. So it says from the PT, blank moles of blank. So you know this is going to be a number, and this is going to be a chemical name, is going to weigh a specific amount of grams. So a lot of students wonder, wait, so which one do I actually have to find the weight of? Well, it depends on whichever chemical has the grams, because the reactant or the given has the grams next to it, you have to find the weight of that chemical. If the problem says grams of O2, you would have to find the weight of O2. But since it said grams of KClO3, we have to add up the weights for those. Alright, so from the periodic table, it's always going to be 1 mole of KClO3. And now I have to add up all the weights. So chlorine weighs 39. Potassium weighs 39. Chlorine weighs 35. And be careful, there's 3 oxygens. So that's going to be 39 plus 35 plus 48, because 3 times 16 is 48. So let's do some math. 9 plus 5 is 14, plus 8, 22, 2 plus 3, 5, 8, 12. So we have the total weight as 122 grams. Let me make that more clear. 122 grams. Alright, next piece. It says information number 2. From the reaction, blank moles of blank. So we know the first one was going to be a number, the next one will be a name, creates a number of a specific name. Alright, so since it says from the reaction we started from the beginning. From the reaction, 2 moles of KClO3 creates 3 moles of O2. Remember, these 2 chemicals is from the reaction here. So again, we didn't need the KCl from above. Alright, last part. So now we got to put all these pieces together. So something that might help is to outline your information. So there's a bunch of information here. We have 1 piece of information, 1 mole of KClO3, and then we also have the information 122 grams. We have 2 moles of KClO3 and another piece of information, 3 moles of O2. So these pieces here will be rearranged so that all the units can cancel out. So first things first, let's start off with our given. We're given 369 grams of KClO3. Before we even look at all this information here, let's go ahead and write down the units. Remember, if you forgot, this back part is called a unit. The number is, I guess, just called a number. So the unit here has to match the unit here to cancel out. Because again, the problem is we have to change the gram of one chemical into moles of another. So units have to cancel out in between to get from one chemical to another, and then grams to moles. Alright, so even without looking here, I know that the unit has to be grams of KClO3. And the only one that matches is grams of KClO3. Well, I only have one information that has grams, so I'm going to put 122. So I'm going to lightly cross this off since I use 122 grams from here. Now for the top part, make sure you don't mix and match. You have to use the remainder part of the clue. You can't use half of one and half of another. That's really confusing. It's almost like finishing a sentence. So if you want, you can label your fractions. You know, since we use 122 from the first clue, this clue right here is from information number 1. That leaves us with information number 2 is going to be for the second fraction. So 122 grams of KClO3 is the same as, or equivalent to, 1 mole of KClO3. So now we've used information number 1. We're going to cross it off so we do not use that piece of information again and repeat ourselves. Without even looking at this, we can fill in what this unit's going to be. Remember, we want these units to cancel out. So we have mole of KClO3. And the only one that matches is 2 moles of KClO3. So you can slowly cross that off. And the last number we have to use is the remainder part of the information. 3 moles of O2. So now let's double check if all our units is going to cancel out. We have grams of KClO3. These match. And so do these. Let's double check. Are these units the same? Yes, they are. Moles of O2, moles of O2. All we have to do now is, let's go ahead and multiply all the numbers on the top divided by all the numbers on the bottom. So we have 369 grams times 1 mole times 3 divided by 122 times 2. So after you simplify and do the math, your answer will come up to approximately 4.5, but we're not done. The units that's left is moles of O2. Go ahead and box your answer, and then we are done. Congratulations, you can now convert from grams of one chemical to moles of another.